third thing people think about before they go to bed. You're wondering, can I pay my bills tomorrow? Am I making the right decisions with my money for myself and for my family that we're going to have the income we need in the future and be okay? There are benefits from doing something every day for 4 years that you get that you cannot get otherwise.
What's been the hardest leadership lesson you've learned over the past couple of years as you're growing this thing?
Letting them fail. Like the hardest thing in the world. So because of that, it's not a skill everyone has. I owe that to my 3 employees that are on my team to create that opportunity so there's potential for them to grow into. I owe that for the future positions I'm going to hire for that I want to give other people a second chance maybe, or a third chance, that I'm like, hey, you want it? Come get it and let's go. Like, let's see what you got.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and today you get me from my home office. This is unique because I'm flying out this afternoon to Orlando, but I got a great friend and great guest on the other line coming from the East Coast. Today on Spartan Leadership, we're joined by Mando Sallavanti, founder of Freedom Path Wealth, one of the most followed financial professionals on LinkedIn, serving high-earning sales executives and entrepreneurs across the country. So we're going to go talk through how he built his business from cold calls to building a multi-six-figure planning firm, from scaling a brand to coaching advisors nationally. Mando truly understands performance, and he understands it at a young age. For those of you that know my background, you know that I know probably over 1,000 financial advisors. And I've really hesitated to have financial advisors on my show because I didn't necessarily want each and every one of them that I know to hit me up and be like, hey, when are you going to let me on Spartan Leadership? But this one's special, not only for what Mando's built at a young age, but also someone that I've been privileged to mentor over the last few years because I see a lot of myself in him. And he's doing it at a far greater level than what I've been, or that I did in my 20s. And I really admire that. So Mando, welcome to the show, brother.
Josh, so pumped to be here, first of all. And to your point, like, I'm just so grateful you even asked me to be here, and I'm excited to jam for an hour, man.
It's going to be a good time, and it's going to be high impact. But yeah, it's always funny, the dichotomy now, because I'm wearing a t-shirt today and Mondo's suited and booted. I'm sure he's got a pair of slick Jordans on as well. And we'll talk a little bit about his shoe game in this episode, because that's kind of where it all started for his sales career. But yeah, that used to be my former world. Now it's daddy-daughter dances, or every once in a while when someone asks me to speak and asks me to wear a suit, I'll bust out one of my old suits. But that's not my day-to-day anymore.
Yeah.
So it's good.
It's a uniform, man. You know what I mean? Some days no suit. Some days we'll throw it on. But you're right about the Jordans. Always got to have them on.
So they matching with the blazer today?
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah, I knew they would.
Nice complementing pair, though. A couple other secondary colors, you know?
Man, so let's start from the beginning. So you grew up, so let me put this out there. So his nickname is Doc. His father's a doctor. He is clearly not. Maybe we could throw you into the doctor of financial advising nowadays. But let's take it back a bit and talk a little bit about your childhood come up and what you admired, because I know your dad's a huge hero in your life.
Yeah. You know, I look back to my earliest childhood memories, and it was the things that seem so little and monotonous growing up. Things like school comes around, you get a new pair of shoes. It's Christmas and you have presents under the tree. You're eating family dinner 4 or 5 times a week at a minimum. Like all these things that were, I would even say, a normal childhood, but maybe not that normal. My dad gave all these to me, and I loved it. And that was why he became my first hero, as I call him. So as I got older, I'm like, okay, dad's a doctor. I understand he makes pretty good money. I kind of build context clues as you grow up. And also people loved my dad. Like we go to a restaurant and we can't leave. I was just in church this past Sunday with my dad. It was me and him. My mom couldn't make it, long story short, but we're there and we go through the communion line and we're coming back to the communion line. I'm like, this guy got stopped 5 times. Like it just never, I'm like, we're in church on Sunday at 8 a.m. This never stops. So, but that's the type of guy that my dad is to the community, even still to this day. And I wanted that. So growing up, I mean, you have a role model right there that you're in the same house with, man. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. So you were going to pursue becoming a doctor because you admired his path and who he was in the community so much. You go on to play college football like I did, and that was another point where we had in common. And take us through the kind of that trajectory of, you were going to pursue in your father's footsteps, and then you made a hard pivot.
So when I was in high school and I was playing football, I was always a good athlete, but college athletics were really never in the cards. Like, it wasn't even something I thought about. As I got to being a rising senior, it was like, okay, I'm not going to get a Division I scholarship, but there's a lot of Division II schools, a lot of Division III schools that are interested in me. And now college football became my priority A goal. At this time, my dad says to me, he's like, look, pre-med is hard. Going to med school is hard. I don't know how you're going to do that with football. That's really difficult. I'll support you. I'm all about it if you want to do it, but I don't know. Now, me being a bonehead kid, I go to school. I go to East Stroudsburg University, Division II school in PA. And I actually was doing very well at football. They were going to redshirt me. I was angry about it because I planned to go to med school. But here I am planning to go to med school, angry about a redshirt. I failed 2 of my classes my first year. So now my GPA stinks. I'm sitting there like, am I a failure? Everyone told me my whole life everything's been given to me. Is this true? You start to question yourself. And I transfer home to King's College, Division III school, 20 minutes from where I grew up at most. And my thought was, my dad's going to beat me if I don't get my grades together, because that's how it is when you grow up in an Italian household. But I did get my grades together, fortunately, so I never had to find out that reality. But I get them together. I'm still pre-med, and I'm like, I'm not happy. I can't put my finger on it. Football was great. I assumed for myself, I'm a Division II player, getting redshirted, doing well. I'm going to go to this Division III school. I'm going to start from day one. It pretty much did happen that way. Like, I look back and I was arrogant, but it did happen that way. Mm-hmm. Second, I still was unhappy, even with how great football was there. So now I was at an inflection point where, is it because of the path I'm on, going to be a doctor, and everything around me was telling me yes, for the fact of I didn't feel like I fit in with the people in my classes. I wasn't being energized by some of the stuff I was studying. Like, I had no interest in it at all. And from that point, everything I knew up until then in my life, which was going to be go be a doctor, mentored by your dad, take over the practice, it pretty much was flipped on its head, and I knew I needed to build from ground zero.
So fast forward now, because I've been there, and like, you go through those identity shifts. For me, I went to college to play football, not even to go to college. Like, I just wanted to continue playing the sport I loved. So then when I dropped out, or when I stopped playing football and then subsequently dropped out, you go through this huge identity loss of, okay, who am I now? What am I going to do now? So you go through that. You didn't quit playing football like I did. You end up finishing your degree, unlike I did, but you still had that identity change. Fast forward to that conversation with your dad's advisor, who's become a huge mentor in your life, and how that shifted your perspective.
Yeah. So my dad back then, I could remember like the conversation, being in their kitchen. We're around the island that they have where there was a couple bar stools there. And I tell my mom and my dad, I'm like, I love you guys, and I know you want what's best for me, but I don't think this path is that. And I'm just very unhappy. I've never felt anxiety like this before. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but if I ever was, that was a moment in my life that I felt feelings of depression, if it wasn't actually depression. And my dad said to me, he's like, look, you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be me. I just want you to be successful on your own path. So here's what I'm going to do, because I'm footing the bill. And this is the way my dad, he says, I'm going to set you up on conversations with different professionals in different careers. You're going to talk to them. You're going to come prepared with questions, and you're going to ask them about it so you can get a feel what stands out to you and what you're drawn to. So I talked to one guy in marketing who like works with professional sports teams. That was a cool conversation. The second conversation I have was with Timmy Lavelle, who was my first mentor in business and still is a mentor of mine to this day. And I schedule a phone call with him. So now I get in my Jeep. It's a rainy night and it's cold, and I go drive around because I figure I don't want my parents to hear my conversation with Timmy. I want some privacy here. My bedroom ain't going to do it. So I need the car. So as I'm talking to Timmy, I'm asking him questions, and eventually by the third or fourth question, he's like, all right, kid, let's just slow down for a second. And he still calls me kid to this day. He's like, kid, let's slow down. If you want to know what it means to be an advisor, let me tell you about my clients, Eli and Marianne. And he had these two clients, Eli and Marianne, worked with them for years and years and years. Eli was the primary person he worked with, but one day he gets a call and it's Eli, Marianne's on the other line and on his cell phone. So he's like, okay, what's going on here? She tells him Eli passes away. Fast forward, Timmy goes over to do all the things we do as an advisor, deliver death benefit checks. Where do we move the investments to? How do we make sure she has the income she needs? And the family's there. They're eating food. It's that scene where everyone's grieving. There's food on the table. There's meals. And Marianne pulls Timmy into the other room. And he's like, she grabs me by the ear and she told him this. And Timmy tells me this from that part of the story. There's three things we all think about before we go to bed. Number one, did I hurt anybody today? And if I did, I could pray about it. I could talk to a friend, whatever I got to do to make my mind right. Number two, am I healthy? Is my family healthy? If we're not, you call your doctor. You get a prescription. You get okay. And out of the story, Timmy then says to me, he's like, kid, that's your dad. Your dad's the second thing people think about before they go to bed. And he says, the third thing she told me just before we go to bed, just before we shut our eyes, you're wondering, can I pay my bills tomorrow? Am I making the right decisions with my money for myself and for my family that we're going to have the income we need in the future and be okay? He said, I'm the third thing people think about before they go to bed. Marianne told it to me that day and I never forgot it. Who do you want to be? And at this time, I'm like, I want to run through a wall for this guy. I want to be you now. So that was what drew me to financial services. And I'm like, I can have a great living and impact people. And I was changed forever.
That's awesome. It's such a good story. I've heard you tell it. I think you tell it better and better every time I hear it. But it's such a great story because stories sell. And as you know, you're in a sales role. Oftentimes when we are, what people don't know about financial planning is like that aren't in the financial planning spaces. On the insurance side, we're selling a product that no one wants and they hope they never have to use. The investment side's sexy. Like we could talk Roth IRAs, different diversification, all the sexy stuff, and they want to hear it. But when we got to talk to them about dying too early, becoming sick or injured, not able to work, that's a conversation no one wants to hear because they don't think it's going to be them. So we have to use stories like that because even though we don't think it's going to be us, we could be one of the statistics. And it's like, okay, we're doing all the right things with our money on the sexy side. We got to protect those right things on the unsexy side, the boring side. So those stories help us paint a picture that helps people move to action. And obviously, Timmy got you to move to action. So you come into this career, and for those that don't know, the vast majority of us are trained when we have no financial experience. We get our licensing, we get a little bit of sales training, a little bit of mentorship if you're in a good company, and we're told, okay, let's see it, go prove it, go make the calls, go get the doors shut in your face, the phone hung up on you, all the different stuff. And we're really taught through referrals because we don't know if we can help someone when we first call on them. We're just getting at bats. We're getting enough names in the door where we hopefully can get enough clients that we can actually make it in this business. And for those that don't know, you have a 7% likelihood of making it as a financial advisor over 5 years. So Mando is one of the 7% that actually made it. My firm, when I was running it, we were really proud of it. We got to 25% and I was shooting to get to 33%, but that was because of the training and development and support that we gave our new advisors. But Mando tried something different. He went against the grain. He said, I'm not only just going to try and get referrals, I'm going to try this social media thing out. And so you hop on LinkedIn, you chose LinkedIn specifically. So talk a little bit about how you go from maybe, I don't know what you started at, maybe 1,000 friends on LinkedIn, something of that nature, to now over 50,000 followers. And I may be even off on that number. I haven't checked out your page in a while. But how that goes, because there's a lot of people that have tried to gain traction on LinkedIn and either gave up too early or didn't find the traction. So let's talk about the start of you making that decision and kind of going all in on it.
So it starts with sneakers, because my whole life I've been a self-proclaimed sneakerhead. I collected them my whole life. I played basketball growing up, which I loved the sport of basketball. I was a way better linebacker. You have a hard-headed Italian. He's better at knocking into people, it turns out. But growing up, I was big into basketball too. I played it all through high school, and I collected sneakers. So when I got to college, going through, still just had maybe 20, 30 pairs, nothing crazy that, for a college kid, you loved it. And when COVID came in 2020, which I was in college still, this was my last year in college in 2020, and I was wrapping up, we get sent home. Now, in the meantime, my best friend, Jarrett, who's now crushing it in his own right, he's a realtor, and we're still like this. He's reselling sneakers. He's buying them, reselling them, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, eBay, whole 9 yards. And I'm bored. You're home during a global pandemic, and you're like, what do I do with myself? I'm like, Jarrett, are you really making money doing this? And he's like, yes. And I then proceed to say, well, I know more than you, so I'm going to start doing it too. And to his credit, he's like, yeah, man, like go for it. And there was some friendly banter, of course, but he's like, yeah, do it. Like, we could both do it. It's not a big deal. We'll both win. So I start selling sneakers in college. It started locally, just kind of Facebook Marketplace, and then eBay when I had stuff. But then on Instagram, what I was doing then, I built an account to about 10,000 followers in less than 5 months, and I was doing 100 pairs a month for my last 3 months that I was doing it. So as a college kid, like, you're making a few grand a month in profit, you start to think you're Bill Gates. You might as well be. At that point. I could buy everybody around at the bar that weekend. So anyways, after that phase, because I finished college then in late November of 2020, the semester was shrunk when we actually went back after everything was lifted with the guidelines. But anyways, I graduated college. It had to be a Friday, and I start my career as a financial advisor on a Monday, which I know so many people in this industry have that. As I got into business, to your point, it was call everyone you know, go to every networking event, get referrals from anyone who wants to talk to you, and make sure you don't stop, because if you don't have names next week, you're done for. I thought there had to be a better way. And just like I built a business on Instagram where I saw I could get paid $1 from a stranger on the internet for a service that makes sense for them, why am I not doing that in this business? So I start on LinkedIn naturally, because in my mind, on LinkedIn, we have more of a business mindset. We're not going to Instagram thinking about where do I get my next job or find a client or hire someone for a certain service. LinkedIn people are naturally. So there's a different mindset there. So I start creating content. At this time, I knew nothing about content creation other than when I was in sneakers, I found if I posted my inventory consistently and I was always showing up, I had a better chance I was going to be in people's feeds. Additionally, if I can build relationships with other people who are active, I get more visibility. So I'm like, okay, let's take the same strategy to LinkedIn. That was the foundation of it. I've hired many coaches over time, taking courses. Now I train advisors myself because I've had so much success. But 6 years into my business, the last 4 years, 80% of the revenue per year has come directly from people who are on LinkedIn.
And this is why I wanted him on the show, because he did something different than all of us advisors. Like just like he said, when I started out, my dad was the owner of the firm. Like all of our warm market gone. So people thought I had it easier. I had it harder. I had to go from scratch and just go to all these networking events, which I still hate to this day because of that phase of my career, to continue to call on people, get referrals, and scratch and claw my way to making it. Mando chose something very different, and he committed to it. But there's also an element to this that he built relationships like you would at a networking event. And I want you to touch on that, because I get hit up daily on LinkedIn and Instagram with people trying to sell me shit. Never once have I bought anything via DMs on Instagram or LinkedIn. And that's not, so I want to be very clear, that is not the approach Mando took. And that approach, although it must work because they're doing it, I don't know who it's working on, because I still get hit up daily and basically tell them to fuck off. But tell them about your approach and how long it took to start getting traction so they have an idea.
So there's a flywheel to it. It's multifaceted, but the real main thing that I did and told myself when I started, I said, I will do this every day for 12 months. If I don't have evidence that there's a reason to continue after those 12 months, I will stop. But unless that's the case, I will keep doing this because I need a predictable source of prospects and clients in my life that isn't, I hope Susie gives me 4 names today that actually want to talk to me. So on that, daily content, sharing personal stuff, like stories from my life, like some of them that I've told even in our conversation today, and making these be known publicly. A big thing I hear from people that don't want to get started on social media, well, I don't want to share about my life. Like, I don't want people to know this about me. And my response is simple. Well, that's okay, but don't expect to get business from it. Because if you want a stranger on the internet to open themselves up to you, how could you ever expect them to do that if you've never opened yourselves up to them? So that's first and foremost, the content and the way you talk about things, especially for me as an advisor and whatever business you're in. Quite frankly, no one cares about all the technicalities. Like I'll use an example, even with, this isn't a perfect, actually, here's one, like a website. So I'm redoing my website right now. We're going to be working with someone, and I don't care about all the background of like the technicalities of building the website and what's going to make it work and all this stuff. I just care that it's done right. And I care that I could trust the person doing it. That's the same way with financial advisors or whatever business you're in. They just want to know they can trust you. The content helps to fill those gaps in. They know your mentors. They know the people that are important to you. They know like what your backstory is. So that's first. Second, activity under other people's content that you actually want to be in front of. So if I have people that are in the market I want to be in front of, I'm intentionally getting under their content on a weekly basis, commenting on a couple of their posts just to be there and be visible. I'm not there pitching them. I'm not saying anything about my business. I'm adding to the conversation because when I comment, they probably feel good about that because it helps them get more exposure.
Let's pause right there, because that's the spot I think I see most people miss, including myself, because I don't have the time. So let's get granular on this so people have a specific takeaway. How did you identify those people? And then what kind of system or list did you create to make sure that you were staying top of mind with those people?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of legwork up front because really you have to go, I want to be in front of people in this industry. And then part 2 is I have to find people who actually are content creators that are active on the platform in this industry. And third, which is kind of the hard part of relationship building in general, they know I'm a financial advisor. They know I'm hearing their comments. Every other financial advisor they've probably ever interacted with sent them one of those DMs you talked about before, Josh, that don't work of like, I'm an advisor and I can help you invest your money better and save on taxes and blah, 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 blah.
People just like you.
Yeah, right. And oh my God, I have 10 clients that are exactly what you are. So anyways, that's what they're used to. So you have to break that stereotype. So for me, what I went through the mindset of is if I do this consistently, what's going to happen is I will build a friend. And if I ask for nothing and just add, I hate saying add value because it's such a vague thing, but in this case, the value you're adding is you're helping them get more exposure and you're dropping a comment on their post that's meaningful. So people like you over time because they're like, Mando helps me and he supports my stuff. And like, that means a lot. When they need what you do, naturally, they will come to you because you're probably the only person in their life that they even trust at that point if you've built that level of a friendship. Doing this now for 4 years, countless clients have come to me that were in that exact situation. But here's the part that everybody misses, and this is social media marketing. This is really many things in life. There are benefits from doing something every day for 4 years that you get that you cannot get otherwise.
It's compound interest.
Like flat out. So you just have to give without expectation. And, obviously there becomes signals. Like if you have a post about a certain topic and it's maybe you do go a little more to the education around something like tax or investing or whatever, and someone likes that post or they make a comment and I'm like, hey, Josh, I know you like this. I don't know if you were just supporting the content or if it's something you're even thinking about, but if it is, like, I'm always here to be a resource for you. And it's a soft way that you don't burn a bridge and you just get in their face that if they do need it, they could raise their hand.
Yeah, that's so good. One thing that we missed there Was there a list or some sort of tool that you
right.
used?
So once you find the people that like I'm it's funny to say this is old school, but like old school in a way that like I had a Google sheet, put the links to these people's profiles, and I would block in my activity time just like I would for calls when I was doing cold calls. It'd be like, all right, if I'm an hour on LinkedIn at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., that's my time where I'm going to go drop my comments and get in front of people. I'm going to respond to comments on my own stuff. And that was kind of the system that I used. There's a lot of softwares out there now. Like there's Taplio, there's Magic Post, there's a bunch of them, honestly, that like they can help facilitate and finding people and managing them. But I'm just a Google sheet, add a link type of guy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the old school approach because there's also AI tools that'll do this for people now. And I can spot an AI comment like so easily. Many people may not, but then you'll get people that are blunt like me. And if you post an AI comment on my stuff, I'm going to blast you. I'm like, that was very well written by AI. What's your opinion? And like literally call you out. Many people may not be like me, but like because I can spot it and I crave and value authenticity.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from an AI bot. So, and that's something that you did was you were purposely sharing your opinion, your value, and your words and thoughts, not having an AI bot do it for you.
Right. And I think too, like when you are doing these comments, it can be monotonous, especially if you're building a business and making social media part of your strategy. I just have fun with it. Like I poke fun at people. I joke around, like, cause it's just what my personality is. So I'm going to do that in the comment section and it shines through and that helps you get through to people. I heard this before that you can never be laughing with someone and simultaneously not like each other in some way. And that might not be 100% true, but almost all the time, like if you think about it, it's pretty much true for the most part. So if I can make a joke and make this person laugh, like we've already got a bond right there.
Yep. And what you're showing in value is because all sales and particularly all relationships come down to know, like, and trust. And by providing value and content on your own page, as well as going on other people's page and providing that value, you're breaking those barriers of know and like, and then trust can get built throughout that relationship where they're like, hey, I need this as far as financial planning is concerned. Who does this in my world? Oh, that Mando guy.
Yep. Exactly. And I just want to be popping up in people's faces. So it's not uncommon for me. Like LinkedIn, you can see your profile viewers, which I love. I'm sending messages to these people who view my profile constantly. I'm like, Josh, thanks for stopping by, man. Just hope you have a great day and we'll chat soon. And a simple message like that, you don't know that you pop up at the most important time in their life, that they came into money or something happened or whatever.
Yeah, it's so good. So you stick with it. Excuse me. I think it was, you told me 18 months before you started seeing real traction.
Yeah.
Was that the right time frame? So you go 12 months. Let's start at that 12-month marker because that was the commitment you made to yourself. What did you start to notice after posting every day and commenting every day for 12 months that you're like, hey, I'm going to stick with this?
Yeah. So it took me about 18 months to get to the point where I was like, oh, this is repeatable. And I know that if I do X actions, this is going to be the output. The first 6 months, I had gotten about 7 clients, give or take. Now, 7 clients is not necessarily going to be enough to run the business and like do much for you. You'll be paycheck to paycheck starving every other week. But the point is, I told myself, well, if I could get 7, I should be able to get 70. And that means I can build a business here. So the next 12 months after that, I got even more. And then I started to deconstruct, like, what am I actually doing? Because back then it was just brute force of like throw a post out there, comment as much as I could. And like, if I'm not in a meeting or I'm not doing something for my clients, I'm on there just going nuts because I would rather fail than not put the absolute most activity possible out there. So then by the time I got through there, you know, eventually you deconstruct what actually led to these clients and you're like, wow, I have a system, I have a process, I can repeat this.
Yeah, that's so good. And so you figure that out. And part of that deconstruction you told me, maybe you can break this down, is you have used AI, but you used it in a real structured and smart way where you were figuring out which of your posts got the most likes, got the most comments, got the most traction, and you deconstructed those via AI to be repeatable.
So I do this constantly. And I think if we're not using data to inform future decisions, we're just going to be batting our head against the wall, going crazy. So LinkedIn changes, social media in general changes constantly. So every 90 days or so, I'll look at like what were my top 15, 20 posts, and I'll have AI analyze them and say, okay, what are, the common themes here? These posts all had above this many views or this many likes or whatever it was. Or maybe I had a post that I know I got a certain amount of clients from. So I can take like, all right, they were between this amount of characters. The start of the post had this characteristic in it. The ending had this. Like, there's little things you could pick apart with your winners in your content that then you should say, okay, well, I should replicate the working parts of this and then get more data in the future and go back. So I look at it as like being a content scientist.
Well, I love that you use that word because that's something I'm trying to teach my kids. And I think that a lot of parents should adopt this. I actually learned it from a neuroscientist. And he was teaching me, I gave him a specific example. My oldest was younger, and we have this floating high dive in the middle of my parents' lake. Or there's a low dive and a high dive. She'd already conquered the low dive. She goes, I'm on the boat floating about 20 feet away, and she climbs up the high dive, and it's rocking. It's on the waves and whatnot. And she jumps. She swims back to the boat, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Were you scared up there? And she's like, yeah. And I'm glad, I'm really happy and proud that you overcame your fear. And he looks at me and he goes, that was good. You want to get better? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, ask her what was going through her head and why she made the decision to consciously jump. Have her work through that process. Not you just giving her the affirmation, but have her become a scientist of herself and her emotions and stuff of that nature. So I've been consciously working on that as a parent because that's what we want. Like we all grew up with rules and whether societal, household, whatever, quotes, platitudes, all this stuff. And as we become adults, we got to decide, are those true for me, or are pieces of those true for me, or are they not? Because the habit we fall into is accepting them as universal truths without understanding if we actually believe that or not. And so I love that you use the word scientist, because I think we can all do a better job of being a scientist of ourselves, our own emotions, teaching our kids, being a scientist on your social media, being a scientist on your business as to why this is working and why that's not working, coming up with hypotheses, testing them, see which works and see which doesn't.
I think a lot of people never actually sit with their thoughts. And I've just got into even meditation myself this year, very recently, probably about a month or so ago, a little longer. And in doing that, man, I mean, just sitting with my thoughts and being like, why do I believe this? Is this true, or is this a narrative that I'm believing around this thing? And if not, what is the thought I really have around this? I mean, if you could sit alone with your thoughts and really think about this applies to every area of our life. I think a lot of people, they'd be able to change for the better and get out of a rut that they might be in.
Yeah. I'll give one last example on this point is my good friend Ben Newman took from Nick Saban, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And at first, face value, I'm like, well, Nick Saban said it. He's the greatest college coach of all time, one of the best coaches in all sports of all time. That must be true. And so I took it as true for a bit. And then I started looking around my life, and I'm like, my business, my body, my mental health, like all top notch. My closet, on the other hand, is not as organized or clean. The floor or the back seat of my truck, on the other hand, where I'm usually picking up my kids, is not effectively picked up as well as some of the most important areas of my life. So do I really hold that quote to be true? For me, no. For someone else, they may actually like really believe it and really wholeheartedly to it. But that's what we got to decide, is that true for us versus just taking it because some great college football coach or someone else that you admire said it and just take it as one of your universal truths.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about the narratives we create in our life in certain areas. And like, while something could be true for you and not true for me and vice versa, it's like, what's the narrative behind that and how does it actually impact your life? And as long as it is positively, great.
Yeah. I want to shift gears here. You recently got married to longtime high school sweetheart, Mattia. So really excited for you guys as you take this next step. But also you've started building a really, decent sized team. And so the question that begs is like, you're no longer just responsible for young guy Mando. Like you don't just have yourself to be responsible for. You got a beautiful wife and you got some amazing employees. What is this next level requiring of you leadership wise to really shift and change?
Man, I've read so many leadership books when I was, going even through college at 19 years old, 20 years old, and talking about when I had this crisis of what career to go into, got me into reading, which is a great thing. And I would read these and I'm like, these motivate me. These are great, but what's actually the application of all of this? And I don't think I truly understood what leadership was until very recently, that I've had people on my team and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to delegate to them to do certain tasks that they're necessary for the business and need to be done, but I don't necessarily need to be the person doing them. And you start to go into like, how do I get the most out of this person? How do I help them reach their potential? How do I help them cast a vision that they can't even see yet? And better yet, I think Ed Milet is the first person I heard say this. How do I make sure that my vision's big enough to contain the vision of these people? And it's been such a challenge, but the way that different people respond to different forms of candor or to different forms of even praise. Like that's another thing. Like some people hate being praised in public. Some people love it, as one example. So that's been a challenge, man. And it's been so fun though, because then when you see like, oh, the way I handled this situation bled over to this, and you're like, oh my God, like this just unlocked an entire new world for me.
Yeah. One quick example, because you talked about how different people handle praise. I had 3 employees in my personal practice and several more as I was running my leadership team. But when I had that personal practice, so I had my operations, my marketing, and my investments. And my marketing person was in her 50s. Her son was at University of Michigan and then got a job at Cantor Fitzgerald in New York City. And we went to do reviews and I was going to give her a significant raise. And she goes, could I get more time off instead? Because she wanted to visit her son in New York City. And I said, oh yeah, I can just reverse engineer and calculate what the raise would be and give you more days off. But it didn't even cross my mind at that time as a young leader, because I was just thinking, employees want more money. She wanted the freedom and more time to spend that with her son. Right. So then it was a conversation and understanding and getting to know your employees well enough that you not only understand how they receive feedback and how you need to deliver it, you understand what they truly value and how you can continue to pour into those values. It's such a steep learning curve, but one that's so worthy.
Yeah, because especially once you understand the vision, then all of the steps along the way and what you want them to build to, you can help tie their vision to those things, and they show up so much differently on the day-to-day.
Yeah. What's been the hardest leadership lesson you've learned over the past couple of years as you're growing this thing?
Letting them fail. Like hardest thing in the world. But this is what I come back to. And when I like to think through a frame of like, let me take this to the extreme degree. And then that usually leads me to the decision I want to make in certain situations. I'm like, okay, so I give them this task. They delegate it. I delegate it to them. They take it over. They screw it up. What's like the worst case scenario? Maybe a client gets mad. We probably could resolve it. And if the client fired us because of some mistake that was made, I probably didn't even want to work with that person long-term anyways. So there's that side. And then the other side is, well, if I step in because I can't help myself and I'm out of my mind, I'm just back in the same spot I was before. So don't step in, let the other situation happen. They're going to learn a couple things or maybe have some questions. But as you go, they screw up less, they learn more, and they change their behavior. So with all my team and all three of them that I have on my team directly right now, I've hired them all through the lens of like, they're competent people that are willing to make the mistake and they learned quickly. Like learning at its core, I heard Alex Hormozy say this and I loved it. He said, learning is you do something, you don't get the desired result, so you change your behavior towards the direction you want to go. As long as the behavior is changing, even if it's not perfect, that's all I care about with them.
That's so good. Yeah, a friend through Arate, Aaron Opolewski, he's out of Michigan. He gave me this quote that I've never forgotten. You got to let your people dent the car without totaling the car. And that's exactly what you're speaking to. And one thing to remember as a boss, I've used it so many times. I give credit to Aaron. He's been on the podcast before. One thing I've learned as a boss is your employees, is if they believe in you, love you, trust you, as they should, they will beat themselves up over a mistake far greater than you could ever beat them up over. So like Ashley, who is my key operations person, one of the best employees I've ever had, I learned that real quickly. I did not have to beat her up. She already beat herself up over that mistake. So the only question I had to ask is, hey, what process did you come up with to make sure this doesn't happen again? And she already had the process. But I'm inspecting what I expect because we can't have this happen again. But I'm just asking the question to make sure she's already worked through it. And so that's one thing for a young leader is don't go and beat them up. Don't go and demean because that you're going to lose or break trust or break that barrier. So just make sure that you're on their side. You know they feel that you're on their side, and that you're just going to work through this because everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah, ultimately, I think leadership is empowerment, right? And reading, so Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership, he talks about that in there, and it's empowering them to feel like they own the process, they own the tasks. They're not like subject to like, here's my big boss. And the dynamic is so different when people feel empowered through that.
Yeah, 100%. So good. Man, there's so much we can cover, but I want to go back to the social media thing real quick because one of the things that you've shared on there that's not in, it's kind of in your field, but it's really not. And it's one thing I texted you about just recently. Like, I want people to understand this, like you're sharing not only pieces of your personal life, you're also sharing some passion. So the specific passion that you've shared about is leveraging credit card points.
Yeah.
And you've just shown people what you personally do, and that's brought people to you in a different sense. So talk a little bit about that and how that's turned not just relationships into friendships, but also clients.
So about 2 years ago, I got exposed to this whole world of like credit card hacking, if you will. And basically the premise is, if I have expenses on a credit card, let me put it on the card that I earn the most points. And then when I actually use the points, let me make sure I get the maximum value on them, because the value of points can vary based on the airline you use them with, the hotel you book it with, the time of year, the place you go. Like there's multiple factors. So I start going down this rabbit hole. Then I started booking trips of my own and saving some pretty substantial dollars. And I started sharing about it on social media because I just figure, hey, I help people with their finances. Almost everyone I know or every client I have is taking at least one family vacation a year. If I could show people how to save money on that, which is usually, family vacations, they're usually spending 10 to 20,000 on, I would say even like a modest.
Depends on how many kids you have. I have 4 kids, so it's going to be at least 20.
Right. Exactly. So you say, hey, even if they save $5,000, well, that's meaningful. That now do the math on that money's invested, and then over time what that grows to and what that means year by year if it happens. And you go down this rabbit hole of how much this compounds, talking about the power of compounding again. So as I started sharing my stories, I found new people coming to me, prospects who wanted to do financial planning with me. And that was kind of a gateway to it. And second, existing clients that were, and even now, like I just had a client 2 weeks ago, three weeks ago, roughly. And they're going to Hawaii later this year. They're telling me like where they're going to book and whatnot. Cause I tell my clients now, I'm like, look, I'm not a travel agent, but like you have your points, like let's look at this together because I have knowledge here. Long story short, with this couple, they're going to Hawaii, ended up saving like $5,000 on the trip. And do you think they care? Like that brings a lot of value. So it's like, do you think they care about the fees they're paying me to work with me? That probably made them profit off the 1-year relationship just off that. Never mind all the big stuff we do that moves the needle much more.
Yeah, it's so good. And it doesn't even have to be like, that's somewhat correlated to what Mando does. But some of these passions that you may have that you're not sharing on LinkedIn because you think it needs to be business or whatever is what's holding you back from gaining real traction on any of these social media platforms.
Yeah, and talking about travel too, because we travel pretty frequently right now, and we don't have kids yet, so we have that freedom right now. And when we do have kids, I hope to do it, but it's going to be way harder, and I know it. But besides the point, I talk about that, and people will say to me, oh, do you really want your clients to see like you're always moving around and doing this? And I'm like, look, if someone looks at stuff like that of my personal interest, whether it's travel, whether it's sneakers, whether it's something with sports, whatever, and they're like, oh, look at this guy enjoying his life, spending my money. I don't want to ever talk to that person. I don't care if they have $1 million. I don't care if they have $100 million. So when you share your personal passions too, it filters people out.
Yeah, it 100% does. And you're spot on. That's the same attitude I took with it. It's one of those things where, I did question, and there were times where, there's probably like you want your advisor to be successful. You don't want them showing up in a 1990 Toyota Corolla. I don't care how many miles and money they've saved with it. It's like you want to know that your advisor, the person that you're trusting with your money, is successful, and there's limits to it. And so you don't want to be ostentatious about and braggadocious about your spending or anything of that nature as an advisor. But you also want to show that you're living a life that they want to be able to live as well, because they're looking up to you in fashions and ways. So it is a fine balance.
I can tell you right now, even professionals I work with, the number one quality I look for is, do I aspire to be like this person? So if you're not sharing these things, nobody could ever even aspire to be like you if they wanted to.
Yep. It's 100% accurate. So, all right, we got a few minutes left. I want to make sure you're one of the most motivated people I know, and you still have this. You're highly successful at a young age, making more money than most people your age, probably top 1%. Where does your motivation come from to keep going?
There's a lot of places, but it all comes back to like, I'm going to get a little morbid here, but it's two sides. We all do pass away one day. Like mortality is 100%. We can't argue that. So with that in mind, we're on earth. I'm so blessed to have the people around me I have and the life I have, but I want to make this as great and as grand as possible. And I think like it's my responsibility to God that I was given certain gifts to live them out to their fullest and live the biggest life that I possibly can. But by the way, empower other people to also do it. Because I have a responsibility where I feel I have a skill to create opportunity. And I've really honed this in the last probably 24 months. But I feel that I can see things other people don't necessarily see. And I know how to create opportunity out of thin air. So because of that, it's not a skill everyone has. I owe that to my 3 employees that are on my team to create that opportunity so there's potential for them to grow into. I owe that for the future positions I'm going to hire for, that I want to give other people a second chance maybe, or a third chance, that I'm like, hey, you want it? Come get it and let's go. Like, let's see what you got. So that's what lights me on fire, man. And, it's cool to create a good life for yourself, but it is priceless when like having a team now. I've seen some of my team hit financial goals of their own, man. Like that's like, there is nothing that could replace that feeling.
Yeah. It reminds me of Andy Frisella telling us about his story with Steve Wozniak. And he asked him, of all the things he's created, all the things he did at Apple, what is the one thing he's most proud of? And he said, hey, did you see those 2 neighborhoods when you drove in? There's 2 neighborhoods that are right around Apple headquarters that are, average house price is 7 figures plus. And he said, majority of those are Apple employees. That's what I'm most proud of. Mm-hmm. And that's the attitude as any leader or any ambitious person, whether you're younger, older, or anything. How Mando just described that, it lit me up inside, because that's exactly how I feel. I know that about him, and I wanted you to hear it because that's what it's for. It's not for you. It's to steward for who's coming behind you. All of the gifts that God blessed you and endowed you with, they were for you to use in the service of others. And that's what Mando's doing, and really what I wanted him to speak on. Man, I was ready to run through a wall for you there, brother.
And I'll leave you with this on that point, because I know we're going to wrap in a couple minutes here. But Zig Ziglar, I read this book by him, probably like my first year in business back in 2020. And he says in it, he says, you can have anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want.
Yep.
That's what you got to live by.
Yeah. Oftentimes you ask some person that has never been in business or just started a business, and you ask them, why does a business exist? And they say, to make money. That's not why a business exists. A business exists to solve a problem. That's it. And if you solve that problem well enough, you make money. And the better, to the degree or better you solve that problem, you make more money. And that's it. It's in the service of others. It's solving a problem. One of my trainers at the gym, young guy, and he was asking me questions. I love his questions. He goes, "What if you were my age? What business would you start?" I said, "It's really hard for me to answer that question. I can tell you where the top percentage of people have earned or become millionaires: real estate, financial advising being two of them. But it's seeing a gap in the marketplace and creating a solution that I'm passionate about would be my answer to you." And I pointed down at his shoes and I said, a long time ago, us humans were wearing shoes, but without laces. And someone had the bright idea to go, there's got to be a better way for these things to stay on our feet, and created shoelaces. And that's how all great ideas, all great entrepreneurs are born, is through seeing a gap and finding a solution that's going to be better for the marketplace and making gobs of money because of it.
Yeah. So,
all right. I always end with this question. It could be on anything we spoke of, or just whatever comes to your heart. What's an unpopular belief you hold to be true? You believe most others disagree with you?
I actually just made a LinkedIn post about this yesterday. I believe imposter syndrome is complete BS, because if you have evidence that you have done something, you should not feel like an imposter about that thing. And I look at my own life. I'm like, the only times I felt like, I have imposter syndrome, it's when I was an imposter, because I was trying to portray myself as something that I didn't have evidence to back up, nor have done it before. Not to say that you can't do something you've never done before, but if I never ran a marathon, I'm not a marathon runner, like flat out. So, that's just something that get a little back and forth with people sometimes. But I dropped that one because it's a little fresh from my post yesterday.
No, I love it, because you're right, because fear and imposter syndrome are two distinctly different things. So what you might be feeling is fear to step into who you want to become or who God's calling you to be, but it's not imposter syndrome, because you have to try it before you know you can do it and get some evidence built behind it, and then all of a sudden you're not an imposter.
Right.
I love that. I love that methodology and thought process. Man, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. If you're not already following Mando on LinkedIn, you got to do so. But what are the other places people can connect with you?
I don't know when this is releasing, but we're going to be getting YouTube rolling coming up here soon. So in March, I'll be getting my YouTube channel going. We'll be doing some mid-form, longer-form content. So you can get me on YouTube, Mando Sallavanti, CFP, and LinkedIn would be the best other place.
Awesome. Well, you guys know what to do. Share this episode far and wide. It's so cool. I just love it, man. I love connecting with younger people that are already accomplishing big things. And I'm just so proud that you just continue to learn and grow, not just from me, but from all the people you're soaking information up from. And it's not that you're just soaking it up, like you're using it. And that's like, so many people can go and read a book, ask for mentorship, get coached, whatever. But it's the practice of actually doing it and putting it into play that's what's made you so successful so far. So it's been an honor to have you on, brother. Remember, Spartans, share this far and wide. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.
This is Sparta!